qui se lance dans tout ce qui est de l'innovation, tout ce qui est de transformation digitale au niveau de leurs différentes équipes. Et donc, je donne sa biographie. Il a un style brillant, il a un style direct dans sa manière de pouvoir coacher, faire de la facilitation lorsqu'il est appelé à diriger des équipes. C'est un conférencier. Il est très demandé dans différents espaces du monde, que ce soit aux États-Unis, en Europe, au Moyen-Orient, et en Asie et en Afrique. Il a présenté plus de 2600 discours et sessions de formation à des publics orientés vers les entreprises et des gouvernements du monde entier. Il se concentre sur le développement du leadership, de la gestion de projet, c'est pourquoi nous l'avons invité, et l'esprit d'entreprise. Donc, c'est un entrepreneur et un penseur anticonformiste depuis sa carrière. Il a fondé et il est le principal promoteur de l'apprentissage, de ce que certainement on abordera vers la fin de notre webinaire. Cela s'appelle le McFM Learning, une société internationale de formation et de coaching qui est implantée aux États-Unis, en Afrique de l'Ouest, en Afrique du Nord et au Moyen-Orient. Il est également le chef d'un café où comment je peux le dire, un endroit où on peut aller prendre du café qui s'appelle en fait Café Roaster, une société de torréfaction de café qui est également installée aux États-Unis. Donc, il s'est construit cette carrière-là au fil des années et il cumule plusieurs années d'expérience dans le domaine. Il a joué également un rôle de consultant dans un grand cabinet de conseil américain et il a également fondé son propre cabinet à cette date. Il a également passé une dizaine d'années dans l'administration publique américaine en tant que directeur municipal et auparavant en tant qu'un urbaniste et un planificateur régional. Il a beaucoup voyagé et il s'est épanoui dans ces différentes cultures. Il a voyagé et travaillé dans 46 pays, notamment les États-Unis et plusieurs autres pays qui sont orientés au niveau du continent africain, américain, européen, asiatique et je dirais océanique. Il se rend et travaille régulièrement au Sénégal, où il passe, il nous a fait comprendre, 2 à 3 mois au cours d'une année. Donc, c'est un réel plaisir pour nous, en fait, de pouvoir avoir ce speaker parmi nous parce qu'il va nous aborder un thème qui touche au niveau des tableaux Kanban. Comment est-ce que nous pourrons simplifier nos projets et même, pourquoi pas, au-delà de nos projets, les différents aspects de nos vies à travers ce dont il va nous faire part. Donc, sur ce, Mr. Mac, je te laisse toute la place.
Good morning, everyone. Bonjour.
Good morning.
Hope you were. Good morning. Hope you were all well this morning, and thank you for inviting me to speak to you. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. This is now my 7th week, I believe it is, in Senegal this year. I will have another 4 weeks till I go back to the United States. This Senegal, I think, is my second home now. I've been coming here for 10 years. And again, it's kind of like my second home. I just wanted to bring you greetings from my home chapter of PMI. It's the Midlands chapter of South Carolina. So I just wanted to bring you greetings from them. The president is Noble Onume, and he sends his greetings to you as well as the rest of the board. So at some point, I would love to have perhaps a joint meeting between there are 3 South Carolina chapters of PMI, and I'd love to have a joint meeting at some point with you all. I think that'd be something maybe we could work on in the future. So this morning, we're talking about Kanban boards, and let me go ahead and please share my screen with you. Right. There are my slides. just Michael, if you could just let me know a quick thumbs up, you can see my slides are okay.
Yes, it is okay.
Okay, very good. Thank you. This morning, the topic is Kanban boards, but specifically how we can use Kanban boards to simplify your projects and your life. And so it's something I've been experimenting with, Kanban boards, not only with my projects, but also with other areas in life to try to keep my life organized. Um, so again, one of the kind of big ideas here this morning that I want to get across is that we can use these digital Kanban boards, and we'll talk about several. You can use these Kanban boards in different ways. Not just the simple Kanban boards we may be used to, but we can use them in different ways to kind of keep our lives together and our projects together as well. So that's kind of the broad picture of what I want to talk about this morning. Let me just do a quick history of Kanban. So it actually dates back to 1603, back into Japan in the Edo period. Now, up until this point, Japan was experiencing many, many wars. And in 1603, it kind of ushered in a relative quiet period for Japan. And the idea of Kanban started to catch on, and the Kanban was just basically a board, a signboard that was in front of a person's shop, in front of their store. So it really means a signboard. Kan is sign, ban is board. So this idea of putting a sign in front of your shop, your place of business, kind of caught on. And again, that was the 1600s. Fast forward to the 1900s. In 1943, Takai Ono was hired by Toyota to kind of supervise their plants, their manufacturing plants. And in 1949, he took over being the manager of the plants. And then in the 1950s, he kind of rolled out this idea of Kanban into the manufacturing. He coupled it with the lean manufacturing, which is what Toyota was known for and is still known for, lean manufacturing. And so he basically brought Kanban into that, and basically had signs or little plaques that followed the process of manufacturing a vehicle. So little signs attached to the particular parts of the vehicles. Fast forward again to the 21st century in 2001, the Agile Manifesto, 17 software developers got together and talked about how we can do our projects better instead of a waterfall process, developing some new process. And out of that, of course, grew the Agile Manifesto. And really, just to briefly summarize it, I'm not going to go into it in detail, but briefly summarizing it, the manifesto really kind of valued individuals and interactions over process and tools. That doesn't mean, of course, that tools and process weren't important. It just meant that individuals and interactions were more important. Working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration, which is a huge thing in Kanban. So we'll talk more about that in a moment. So it's customer collaboration over contract negotiations, and then responding to change over following a plan. Of course, that's what Agile is really based in, is change. In a traditional waterfall project, of course, the scope of work is kind of fixed in place. It doesn't change very much. But in an Agile project, the scope changes all the time. And so they needed a way to respond to those changes. And out of that then grew this idea of Agile. Fast forward again to 2009, 2009. Most people consider 2009 to be what's called the golden year of Kanban. And that is, this is where Kanban kind of grew up a little bit. Several books, several important books were published in 2009 that really kind of talked about Kanban and the whole idea of using Kanban in conjunction with agile methodology. And so kind of grew up and kind of became much more popular in 2009. Post 2009, this whole idea of Kanban for all, that is that we can use Kanban boards for a lot of different things. Again, not just a project that you may have, but kind of as a contract, as a concept overall to help us to be more organized. And that's really what I want to key in on this morning. So anyhow, that's a brief history of Kanban. Of course, a Kanban boards, just to kind of refamiliarize you perhaps with boards. At its simplest state, so there's three main parts to the Kanban board, of course. So the main part, the first part is called the Kanban board, of course, the whole board itself. And so, oops, sorry, we're talking about the entire board here on the slide. That's the Kanban board. The columns, of course, are these. Right? These are the columns. In this board, there are three columns. They basically your status view. And then the last one are the cards on those within those columns. So again, these colored individual cards within the board. Of course, if it were a physical board, right, you could have these as sticky notes on a board, on a whiteboard, or on a some other type of board. You can have sticky notes. You can have on a whiteboard itself, again, just drawing on the whiteboard. But then as a digital concept, the idea of Kanban boards, again, same type of idea. You're going to have a board, and then you're going to have digital cards on those boards. At its simple concept, of course, it's got three columns to do, done. That's a pretty simple concept. Three columns. You got to do a column, and those items are going to stay in that left-hand column. You pull them over into the doing columns, the work BYP, and pull those over into the doing, the work in progress, and when they're into the done column, completed. So again, very simple concept, dating for a long time. So that's the simplest form. The Kanban boards, first of all, is a visual tool, and that's one of the things I like the most about Kanban boards, is that they're visual tools. You can see them. You can, the visual, even whether it's a digital Kanban board or one that's physical on the wall. I could have one on the wall behind me or on a whiteboard. And so they're visual tools. They help us manage projects and, very importantly, workflows, right? And we'll talk in a moment about that specifically. So it helps us manage the project as well as the workflow. It's based on the principles, as I just discussed, of agile and lean manufacturing, lean management. And it's based on, again, those concepts of the scope is something that changes all the time. The projects are based in change. So it's a board that's going to help us with those changes. It's adaptable. It helps teams specifically. It helps teams see the task progress. Again, I can move the task from the to do to the doing, and then finally to the done column in that simple form. So we can see the progress of the project. We can also, in that same process, identify bottlenecks that may occur. right? We can see problems. We can see a sticky note that's been in that middle column for a long time. So what do we need to do to move that out of that stuck position? And some of the boards then, have a fourth column, doing to do, doing, stuck, and completed or done. So we can identify again bottlenecks or problem areas. Also, one of the things I really like about Kanban boards, they're not only visual, but they're very collaborative. We can share boards back and forth. In fact, again, if it's a physical board on the wall or a whiteboard, everybody can see that and they can collaborate. No, I think this sticky needs to go over here versus here. So again, we can collaborate. In fact, I was just on a Zoom call yesterday with one of my teams, and we were pulling up a board on Monday.com, which again, I'm actually going to show you in a bit. But we had a 2-hour meeting to talk about the project and how we can proceed in the project. So it's a very collaborative process. All right. Kanban forces us also, again, this is a different thing within project management. It forces us to kind of rethink the project in general. So as a longtime project manager, I've been a project manager for 35 years. I love project management. And my kids will tell you, I have 2 grown children. My kids will tell you, and my wife will tell you that I talk about project management all the time. And my Gantt charts, I live and die by my Gantt charts. But this whole idea of Kanban kind of forced me, when I started thinking about it, when I started investigating Kanban, it forced me to kind of rethink projects a little bit, right? To rethink the whole process. Thinking though in terms of workflow, right? We often think about, okay, task driven. We're task driven. We have task driven projects. I'm a task driven person, and we can think about task A and its duration and its effort, and it starts on one date, finishes on another date, but and it has dependent relationships to another task perhaps, and others to it. So it can get complex and complicated, and that's again where the Gantt chart really comes in to show those complications and those dependencies. But we often don't, or I often didn't think about the flow of the work itself. Right? I'm not talking about the tasks, and I'm not talking about the timing. It's the flow of the work. And so Kanban kind of refocuses our efforts there. So it's not just about the tasks themselves, but how the work needs to proceed in what order. So this is kind of an example here. It's a book project, and it's not mine, although I do have a book in progress on project management. So here again, the example here is creating a manuscript is the first process, preparing to publish, and then publishing the book, right? So we can see, there's a flow to the process. It's not just tasks. And again, there are those dependencies between the tasks. Of course, I have to have the research done before I, hire a professional editor, right? That, of course, is going to be a dependent relationship. But the Kanban board kind of really focuses my attention. It's the same process. I'm not talking about changing the process, but it kind of refocuses my attention to the workflow. And so the flow of the work. It's a visualization tool that's going to, again, document not just the tasks, but the flow of the project, the processes within the project. Again, think in terms of how the work's going to get done throughout the project. And again, just kind of focuses our efforts a little bit more on the workflow. Also, one of the most important things about a Kanban board is, again, it's not just visual. It's supposed to limit the work in progress. Right? Kanban boards were specifically built to limit it. Again, if you look back at the work of Ono in Toyota in the 1950s, He really specifically talked about there was too much work being done at one time. So he wanted to limit the amount of work that was being done. And that is one of the most important functions of a Kanban board. Again, this illustration shows you again that we have very few items in the to do, but the whole list of doing is enormous. And there's too much effort then in this whole long list. It's like anything else. If we start too many projects, if I have too many projects open at home, for example, that my wife gives me, that dilutes my efforts. I'm only one person, and I will often tell my wife this: I can't accomplish all that. I'm only one person. So there's too many open projects, too much work for the time that's available. And so when we start working on too many things at a time, or sometimes what we call multitasking, right? We're going to multitask. Again, that dilutes our efforts. It causes problems. It causes quality problems. It causes timing problems. So the idea here is to, again, to limit the work in progress. I recently read this book called Making Work Visible. It's one of the more interesting books I've read on Kanban, and definitely recommend it to you. In there, he talks about, again, this limiting this work in progress and how important that is. And he says there's a reason why we do a lot of work, or we try to do a lot of work at the same time. There's a reason why work in progress is a problem. And the first is that we fear humiliation. Right? As human beings, we fear being humiliated. Right? We don't want to be humiliated, and so what we try to do is we try to do too much. We try to pile on as much as possible, and it is, again, our work gets diluted. So we want to be thought of, and I want to be thought of as as a person who gets a lot of work done. I don't want to be humiliated and say, well, Mac, you didn't get all this work done. So he says that's one reason why there's so much effort in terms of the work in progress. Two, we like the new things, right? We like the shiny things. We like working on new things. And, I don't want to work on that other thing that I've been working on for a while. I want to work on something new. So we'll pull over from the to-do column, we'll pull over into the doing column, something that we haven't been working on, something that's new, something that's shiny. He said that's another reason. And frankly, we underestimate the effort that's required for those items. I've been doing a bit of research on this issue, and I'm hopefully eventually going to publish a paper on it. But this idea of the psyche of project managers, and I believe that project managers, for the most part, we're pretty optimistic people. We're pretty optimistic people. I've met very, very few pessimistic project managers. So we're very optimistic people, and we optimistic people tend to overestimate what they can do and underestimate the efforts that are required. Right. So that's another issue he talks about. And ultimately, we like to please others. We like to please other people. If my boss wants me to do more tasks, then I want to please my boss, and so I'm going to try to do that as much as possible. Right. So those are the four reasons why that column, the middle column in the Kanban board, the doing, the work in progress. That's why that column gets full. Right? We work on too many things. Again, it dilutes our efforts. So the board was really designed to, again, show visually what we're working on. What do we have to do, but what we're really working on. And for me, that's a helpful tool to be able to show exactly what we're working on at the same time. So I want to talk about before we get into the actual boards, I want to talk about 6 ways Kanban boards can really simplify projects and your life. This is kind of the central theme for the morning. And how can we use these boards? And frankly, this is going to go not in terms of physical boards, like I said, on whiteboards and walls, etc. You can use physical boards this way, but I'm really going to kind of look at the digital boards and how we can use those. But again, these concepts will apply to the physical boards as well. So how can these boards, I mean, this is kind of a bold claim, isn't it? That we can use Kanban boards to simplify projects and to simplify our life. It's kind of a bold claim. And so I recognize that, but I think there are 6 ways we can use these. And when we use these 6 things, I think it has in my life, it's kind of simplified my projects that I work on and also my life in general. I've been using these boards for a couple of years now in different ways. So let me kind of launch into this. What are 6 ways to simplify your projects and your life? The first one is, again, it makes the workflow visual. And it's a visual tool that helps me see what I'm working on, but more important, as a broader perspective. See, I can narrow down and see that to do column and the doing column and the completed column. But if I pull myself up out of that a little bit and see the broader picture, I can now focus on the workflow, right? Instead of just the tasks themselves. How are things proceeding? Are we getting stuck on one particular area? So it helps me pay attention to the workflow in general. Second, again, this idea of limiting the work in progress. The idea of not getting too many things in that middle column and diluting our efforts in those projects or in anything else. It manages workflow. It's not just a visual tool. It shows me the workflow. Now I can do things again as a project manager to manage that process. If I identify a specific item, a specific task that we're working on that's stuck, that's not proceeding well, identify that as a bottleneck in the process. We can think about alternative ways. We can go into risk management processes, of course, and think of alternative ways to accomplish that task. Again, it kind of helps me manage the tasks and helps me manage the workflow itself. And again, if we see particular bottlenecks, we see an area of the organization or area of our company that's not working well, again, that's going to show up in that doing column. And so I might be able to identify a particular department, for example, that's not getting their work completed. So now, as a project manager, what do I need to do? Do I need to apply more resources, more time? So it helps me manage all of that. Fourth, it categorizes and prioritizes the work. See, I think this is one of the most important things. It helps me prioritize. Today, I think more than ever before, I think it's very difficult to be able to prioritize work. I mean, we're just confronted with so many things in a day that we have to get accomplished. And I think it's difficult to be able to say, okay, well, what's truly the most important thing that I have to work on right now? Because in 5 minutes, right? In 5 minutes, that might be different. It might be a different thing. But right now, this moment in time, what's the most important thing that I need to work on? And see, Kanban boards help us look at that. It helps us first in categorizing those, again, not just in a simple board like to do, doing, and done, but we can have different categories. And then within those categories, we can prioritize the work. We can prioritize those tasks, those items, and reprioritize them. And that's an adaptation. That's how we can adapt to the changes that are going around us. Again, in a tool, excuse me, in a tool like a Gantt chart, which again I said I love Gantt charts, But in a tool like a Gantt chart, that's going to be more difficult to manage. So the Kanban board, you in a physical one, you pull the sticky off and place it someplace else in a different category. In an electronic one, again, you can drag and drop, if you will. Um, so again, it helps prioritize the work. It helps prioritize within those categories. So, and I'm going to show you different ways to do that as well. Number 5, it creates the feedback loop. Yeah, this is one of the hallmarks of Agile, right? There's a feedback loop that happens all the time, right? We get to interact again in that feedback loop with our customers, our clients, with our with our supervisors or managers that are working in yesterday on Monday.com. We were trying to look at different ways to accomplish several things on our project. So it's a very collaborative tool. You can be in the tool at the same time and drag things where you need them to be. Again, it creates that because it's a visual tool, right? It helps promote collaborative efforts. Now, I'm talking about in terms of projects, right? And these 6 things apply to our projects, the projects you do, in the work that you do. But think for a moment. I want you to think for a moment about other areas of your life, your family life, home life, and the applications of a Kanban board in other areas of your life, and to be able to help organize your efforts, your work efforts, again at home or wherever you might think of using these boards. And again, I'll give you some examples of how I use them as well. Again, thinking about those other areas outside of work, talking about making that workflow visual, right? So it's helpful to this. If I had when my daughter's now 28 years old, but when she was 12 or 13, I tried to teach her how to do a Gantt chart, and she rebelled. She did not like Gantt charts at all. Still doesn't to this day. But I think if I had taught her how to construct a Kanban board, I think I'd have been much more successful at that. Because it's a visual tool and you can understand, okay, these again simple concepts, the 3 columns. It makes it much more visual, so much more exciting for people. Again, it limits the work in progress. So it helps people understand this whole concept of we can't be doing everything at the same time. We just don't have the resources to be able to do everything at the same time. So it promotes then a discussion, right? It promotes a discussion about what things need to be done first. Again, it goes back to the priorities. It helps categorize and prioritize the work that we do. It manages, again, the workflow. We can help see the workflow, and we can help manage that workflow. It creates the feedback loop, again, to give home projects, and it's that visual tool, and we can have discussions about why items need to be worked on and when they need to be worked on. So it promotes that feedback loop. And then collaboration. I mean, everybody can see the board, everybody can get involved in the board, and it's a collaboration, it's a collaborative effort. So those are 6 ways that I think Kanban boards can be. You can use Kanban boards effectively, again, in your projects and also in other areas of your life as well. So what I'd like to do is kind of just do a survey of, we're just going to use 3 today. There are a lot more today than these, but these are the 3 that I picked. These are the 3 that I've been working in the most. and they're pretty representative of all the other ones as well. So we're going to talk about Trello, Trello.com, Monday.com, and then Planner, Microsoft Planner. So let me just quickly introduce you to these tools. If you haven't worked in them before, they're very easy tools to work in. I like all three of them. Trello, let me just talk for Trello is Trello was introduced first in 2011. It is a web-based product as well as a mobile app. They have a mobile app for it as well. They have a version, and their top-end version goes for about 7,700 CFI per month. And again, we're going to look at some boards on Trello. Monday.com was established in 2014. Again, it also is web-based, but it has a mobile app as well. Again, it has a free version. All the free versions, by the way, are limited, pretty severely limited. So of course they want you to buy the product, but they do have free versions. So it's free, and their top end is 12,400 per month. Microsoft a desktop app as well. If you're in Windows, there's a desktop app. It is included. I won't say it's free, but it is included in your Microsoft 365 account or Office 365 account. It's included in both of those. Right. So again, I've been working pretty extensive for the last couple of years in Trello, Trello.com, Monday.com, and Microsoft Planner. Started working in Planner first, and then got into the other two as well. Actually, that's not true. Trello, I saw Trello first, and then got into the other two a bit later. So let me go and share my boards. So if you could bear with me for just a second. I missed it. There we go.
J'essaie, Marc. Vous pouvez poser vos questions dans le chat au cas où on pourra y répondre dans la phase série questions-réponses. Let's go, Matt.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you can see the Trello board, Michael?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so this is Trello.
Trello.
Yep, and my mouse quit working on me. Hold on one second. There it is. So again, I use it several different ways. Let me show you several different boards here. Let's show this one first. This is a company I'm working with that we're identifying their processes, their systems. This is not a project. I'm not using it as a project management tool here. It's a tool that helps identify, again, it's a visual tool. And what we're doing here is identifying their systems, what systems they have in place in their organization, and then who's responsible for each one of those systems as well. So you'll see in finance and accounting, accounts receivable, payable, etc., those different activities under Johannes for those activities. Like I can click on those cards. So this whole thing, of course, is the board, and then the columns and under finance and accounting here. But I can go on the card itself, accounts receivable, and open up that card, and then I can have detailed information about that item. Again, it could be a task for a project, but this is not a project. So we're again looking at who's responsible. Johannes is responsible, but also there's some external help available as well with some of those activities in accounts receivable. You can have, trying to move the card. You can have also, again, lots of other additional information. You can plug in a description of the item, of course. You can add other members to that card itself. You can add labels. Again, that's what I've done there to identify particular people, internal and external. You can have a checklist. So I'll just go ahead and add a checklist to this one. And I can name the checklist just additional items. So again, I might list, what those additional items are, those, what the specific processes are within accounts receivable, and I can just do that. I'm just going to type a few comments, right? So you can just see again, it creates this checklist within the card itself. You can have, again, other information. You can have dates. You can have a start date, a finish date, a milestone, a deadline. You can attach documents to it. You can, have a map. So if you're, for example, this is a meeting, and you want a map of the meeting, you can put that in there as well. You can have covers. Again, it's a very visual tool, so you can have a picture that acts as a cover for the card as well as the board itself. And then one of the more recent things they've done is all three of them, now you can have custom fields within those cards. You can customize those fields. So you can have pretty much any kind of field in there that you want to have. You can also, and again, this is true to all three products that we'll talk about today, integrations with other applications. The Trello calls this power ups. You can have all different kinds of applications that will then sync with Trello as well. And just again, there's Slack, there's Jira, and again, there's email for Trello, etc. So lots of different tools that you can use inside of Trello as well, inside those boards and cards. So that'll give you a little bit of an idea again about the cards inside that. You can present all kinds of information in those. And again, of course, now what we're talking about here, and the way I've structured this board, it's by system. So for example, if Johannes wanted to give one of his systems away, one of his group of tasks away, and assign it to somebody else, Dan, for example, I could just simply slide that card over, and now Dan's responsible for those activities. And what we're looking at here specifically for this organization is, what systems that they have in place. And there's another board, which I'm going to, let me see if I have that right here. Yep. Actually, we have another board here that talks then about capacity. We're looking at what capacity. So that was the systems. Now we're looking at capacity. What capacity do they currently have? And ultimately, do they need additional people? That's really the crux of the analysis. Do they need additional people? And we're finding, yes, they need some additional people and additional staff. So again, that's what we're trying to do with this card is, Johannes has X amount of hours per year to apply to this part of the organization. And so we're looking at, now they've not finished this yet, but we've kind of just designed this. And so here's the card here that has the information. Financial reports is one thing he does. And again, we look at, how many hours per month does that take? What is the priority of that? And then also, again, this is a custom column. What's the percentage of time that task, financial reporting, is completed on time? Again, pointing back to the fact that they may need additional staff. Right. And here's a checklist then for reports. So the kinds of reports that he's going to have to produce. So again, this is not a project board. It's a board that we're organizing these activities within the cards of the activities, and the columns then are who's responsible for those, and ultimately what's their capacity. So that's another board in Trello. I'll show you, this is a template. This is a Kanban board template within Trello. This is not my design, it's their design, Trello's design. So again, we have the backlog, planning and design. It's ready, it's in progress, review, done. Again, so that's their template for this. And again, same idea, you can drag tasks back and forth, have different items in that card to show. But that's again a template, and there's dozens of different templates that are available through Trello, and that's true also of, again, all three of these. Just a lot of different templates that you could pull up. This is, you don't have to do all the work. They'll have those templates. Here's another one. This is one I use all the time. Again, I do have a coffee roasting company back in the United States, and this is my coffee roasting production process. So you see on the left-hand side, this is what I call my batch list. These are the coffees that I need to roast. This is a particular day. Those are coffees I need to roast. And again, information on the card. This is the number, typically is corresponding to the position within the roast process. The RWND, this is the Rwandan coffee, and the 100 is representing the amount of ounces of green coffee that I'm roasting at that time. I have a roaster that is it is about just about 2 kilos. I think it is a 2-kilo roaster. So again, those cards represent the coffee that I'm roasting. And then what I do, once they're prepped, once they're measured out into bowls that I have, they'll go into the prepped list. And that means we're ready to put them into the roaster. So again, we roast one at a time. So I'll just pull that from the prepped into the roasting. And once that coffee is roasted, of course, I pull that over into the cooling, and I pull the next one into the roasting. So again, once the coffee is cooled, and now I'll put them into the grinding area. So I grind coffee. And again, that next one is ready to come out. Put the next one in. And then just to kind of speed up the process, go from grinding to blending. Sometimes we'll blend into the packaging, and then into the shipping and delivery, and then into the completed column. So again, once again, it's not a project, but it's really helping me in my production planning of my coffee roasting. So it's again a very nice visual tool, and I could put all this information into a spreadsheet, and it would fit nicely in a spreadsheet. But I hate spreadsheets. I mean, I can work in a spreadsheet, but I don't like working in them. They're not visual at all. They're all numbers, and so this nice visual tool again helps me see the whole process. So it helps me see what coffees are in the roaster, what's next, etc. Helps keep me as a coffee roaster on track. So another way to use the Trello board. All right. Let me just show you one more. This is a kind of a work in progress. My digital files, so I need work on my digital files. I've got files all over the place. I've got a laptop, I've got a desktop. I have files, of course, in Microsoft OneDrive. I have files in a Google Drive, files in a personal OneDrive. I have files all over the place. So one of the things that I did several months ago, actually before I left to come here, was I bought a networked attached storage. So 8 terabytes of data storage that I put at home. It's not in the cloud. It's actually on drives, and I will back it up to the cloud, of course. But I'm trying to consolidate all my files. Like I said, they're all over the place, and I just want to be able to consolidate them. So that's kind of what I'm doing with this process, is just helping me, again, visually see where all those files are. And again, if I'm putting all of those files in, again, I can put them into, to those categories. So just another example. This, again, is a one in progress. I don't have a lot of information in there, but that's the idea behind this one. All right, let me switch to Microsoft Planner then. Microsoft Planner, again, Microsoft Planner is a tool inside of the 365 accounts, either Microsoft 365 or Office 365. It is included in those. If you go to your launcher, you'll see in the top left-hand corner, there's the launcher. And let's see, where is that one? It's down here on the left-hand side, Planner. And when it pops up to this page. It's called the Hub. Okay, so the Hub, and again, there is a free mobile app as well. So this is the Hub. It gives you information on that. I'm going to show you a few boards here. Again, they're not really project boards. I do have some project boards to show you, but this one is not a project board. Again, this is my wife and I were considering moving this earlier this year. We were considering moving to a different house. We ultimately didn't, but we didn't because of this board, because of the information that we went through. Again, this was a collaborative effort between my wife and I. We looked at all the data that was available and decided not to move. So we looked at, again, the columns here. We have moving, pros of moving. That is the reasons why we should move, and then the cons, the reason we shouldn't move on moving itself. So one of the pros, it would force us to declutter our house. And again, we've been living in our house for 15 years. And of course, over those 15 years, you accumulate a lot of things. And it would force us to get rid of some stuff if we did move. Also force us to downsize. We are looking at the possibility of my mother-in-law, my wife's mother, moving in with us at some point in time. She's 87 years old and getting to the point where she won't be able to live by herself for very much longer. So we're looking at the possibility of her moving in. Right now, we have a 2-story house, and that's probably not going to work for her. So we're looking to either a 1-story house or at least a bedroom downstairs for her. Again, lots of other reasons. Less traffic. Right now, we're in a place where there's a lot of traffic. Not as much as Dakar, okay? So when I get back home, I'm gonna, there's definitely not as much traffic at home as there is here in Dakar. So those are some pros for moving. Some of the cons we're looking at. My son was graduating from university this past spring, so the timing of moving and then being celebrate his graduation really wasn't great. We would have higher monthly costs. Right now, we're in a house that's a fairly low house. Moving into another house would probably put us in to a higher cost. It was a very short time frame which we had to execute this, and ultimately, again, we didn't move because of that. We did the pros and cons of moving. We also did the pro and cons of staying. Right. This is the do something or don't do something. Right. This is the don't do something. So again, we have some pros for that. Right now we have a large backyard, and we love that backyard, and that was definitely a reason to stay there. Again, some of the cons you'll see there. There was one of the biggest cons things against it was there was a lot of things that needed to be done to the house. It was 15, that's actually the house 20 years old, and some of the appliances need replaced, the flooring, etc. And so, that was one of the things that we needed to consider as well. So pros and cons of moving, pros and cons of staying. And then if we move and if we stay, here's some things we're going to have to do. So if we move, here's what we're going to have to do. And if we stay, here's what we're going to have to do as well. So again, ultimately, again, a very visual board, a very collaborative effort. My wife and I sat down on a Saturday morning and constructed this board probably in about an hour, probably took about an hour, but the whole hour was based on discussion. You know, here's a pro for moving, here's a con for moving. So it was really uh, a, a, um, a great tool to use for that. Let me show you a couple of real quick, another board here. Oops. Are we okay on time, Michael?
Yes, I
Okay.
I see.
Here is a project. You can still see my my board, Michael. So here's a project. This was a small project I had beginning of COVID. I was traveling a lot before COVID. Of course, once COVID hit, we stopped travel, and so I was going to refurbish my office, renovate my office. And so we just made a real small project out of that. We were going to have to order a new desk. I was going to replace my desk. So this was something I was going to have to order. So then I'm going to open up the card. I can have information into there. I can assign it to a specific person. There's me. I can, as a high priority item, I can plug in start dates to that. Let's just do today. I can plug in a due date. And again, I can have notes about that particular desk as well. And then checklist, just like we saw in Trello, same type of information that we can apply here in Microsoft Planner. So again, once again, I could just simply drag and drop, right? This again from to do, doing, and done. So I'm going to order that desk. It's in progress. And once it's complete, I'll just pull it over to the completion. Same again with ordering lumber for the, I was going to build in shelves, etc. So again, the whole idea of pulling things over into in progress or doing. But here again, the very big tool, I can see if I begin to pull too many things over into this column, right? You can visually see that that's going to be too much work at the same time. So again, that's one of the things I love about the Kanban boards. Let me go ahead and switch to the other board, the lastboardmonday.com. Give me just a second. Whoops. Yeah, there's Monday. There's monday.com. And so there's different workspaces here. I'll show you a couple of quick things. Here's I built a schedule. Again, this isn't necessarily a project, but this is my monthly schedule, weekly schedule while I'm here in Senegal. And you'll see again, it's just a timeline of my activities within what I'm doing here. I can have it be as a table form. And again, that's one of the nice things about these digital Kanbans, that you can have different forms, different ways the data shows up. So it's a table. You saw the timeline. Here's in a calendar form as well, and of course, then a typical Kanban board as well. Once the data is in there, it's just like any other database. Once the data is in there, you can have it show in multiple forms. Couple of boards here. This is a board that I've been working on recently. It is nowhere near finished yet, but here's goals, smarter goals. So here again is a goal. Here's the owner, the goal, and then the smarter, specific, measurable, actionable, risky, time keyed, exciting, and relevant. And so whether those are fall within those parameters. and then a prioritization of that and the status. I can attach files to that and have progress meter as well. Then also I can have sub goals under that as well, just to be able to open up that again, just like a subtask within project management, same type of idea. And again, hopefully you're getting a sense here that these tools can be used for projects, but also things that help organize yourself. Again, like your goals, what goals you want to accomplish. Let me go ahead and switch to some projects. So here's some simple projects that I've been working on. Here's some training I'm doing back in the States, actually next year. So I'm just kind of doing the content right now, researching content, writing the workbook, the slides, and next July and August will be the training. So a very simple project, not a lot involved in it. Just being able to put it that way. Here's another, I'm putting a business plan together. So just again, a fairly simple way of doing it. Here's another one here with some subtasks. Again, just showing the items, who's the owner, be me, and then the status. I could have dates in there. So a lot of different columns that I could have. And let me just show you that now as well. I could add in other columns. So this is, again, Monday is a bit different from both Trello and Planner, in that you can have a lot of different columns that you might want to be able to show within your board. And there's a lot, right? There's a lot of columns here that you could have. Again, we could have timelines, tags, and add in files. Again, status, labels. Again, I'm not talking about them all. We have a long form text, all kinds of dates, checklists. And just tons and tons of work recently, and I've started working with this. So benefits register for the particular project. So here's the project I'm working on for the CAPM certification for my an organization back in the States in South Carolina. So benefit number, the project manager, that's me. The benefit owner, that's the organization I'm working with. What's the status, the target date, the realization phase. So when is the benefit going to be realized? And then what's the metric that we're using? And this will be the pass fail for the CAPM exam at the end of the training in August of 24. So now the benefits, the same thing with the risks, right? We're risk register. I love this one. There's a great new template that's in that issue. So internet issue right now. Yep. So um, have a problem here.
Mike?
All right. Well, let's do this. Let's finish there. Let me go back to my slides real quick.
Mikhail, I think
You
there are
also with me,
some
Michael?
issue on the sound.
Yeah, the song is very not. Yeah, hello?
Still on. I am. Okay. Give me one quick second.
Mr. Mac, the sound not good.
The sound is not good.
Yeah,
That's good right now. That's
We're good now.
yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So let me just fin up here real quick.
5 minutes. The time is up.
I'm sorry.
5 minutes to the presentation after the question
Okay.
and answer queue.
Okay. All right. I will do that. So let me just show last slide or two. I don't know if you can see. Can you see the slide, Michael?
Yes, I see. The screen.
Okay. Okay. All right. So just a few notes about Kanban boards. They work best for fairly simple projects. If you start getting a lot of dependent relationships between tasks, that's where the boards don't work well. So fairly simple projects that don't have a lot of those dependencies. Again, I love Kanban boards because they are highly collaborative, but they're not going to show everything. So you can have, again, like Monday.com, you can have it show like a Gantt chart. But again, if it's a rigorous project, if it's a complex project, I'm probably still going to stick with another tool, maybe something like Microsoft Project, which is, again, a tool that I use a lot, and I teach courses about that as well. Again, all three of these, Trello, Planner, and Monday, all have extensive integrations and automation tools. So if you're looking again to connect them with other tools, they have great abilities to do that. And then again, all three of them have the ability to show the data in multiple ways: Kanban board, the Gantt chart, calendars, etc. So again, that's one of the reasons I love using those tools. Again, if it's a large, complex projects, I'm going to probably stick with something like Microsoft Project. But these are great tools for projects, but hopefully I've been able to show you for other areas of your life as well. So that's it for my presentation. I would love to be able to take questions if you have questions.
Thank you, Mark, for your presentation.
Mhm.
So there are no questions in the conversation, except Ismaël, tu avais une question? Can you speak French and English?
I apologize. I
Is mo-
only speak English. I'm working on my French, but
is the platform Monday.com, it is a free access or not?
so Monday.com does have a free tier, but it is very limited. The cost for Monday is it's probably the most expensive of the three tools. It'll go again from the free tier up to about, I think, 12,000 or something like that a month. But there's I want to say 3 or 4 different tiers with different prices. So yeah.
Okay. Question for you. What is the main advantage of use Kanban in your project?
Yeah, the main reason, I think there are several. First of all, again, it's a very visual tool. I'm a visual person. You can probably see from my slides. I love seeing things. So whether it's on the wall or whether it's in a digital tool like these, I love seeing the tasks, seeing the work that we're doing, especially also when we're trying to limit the work in progress. So I like seeing that there's very few items in that column that are doing. The second reason, again, is that it helps me do that. It helps me with those work items. And the third reason is a very collaborative tool. As I said, I sat together with my wife and built that tool for about an hour and helped us, really figure things out. And so it's very collaborative. Those are the reasons.
Okay. Ismaël, si tu as une question, tu peux ouvrir ton micro et prendre la main.
Hello.
On t'entend faiblement.
You hear me?
Yes. Go.
Okay, so I want to thank the Mister. Thank you so much for your presentation. Very interesting. I wasn't using this tool that is Kanban, and it's very. I see that during the presentation, it simplify many things, and so my question is, what's how to say that? What in which moment we have to use the Kanban tool? In which moment, for example, during the within the meeting that we have in company, or so which moments we can use it? This is my question. Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. And yes, that's a great question. I use Kanban boards, again, a lot of times. I will use them again, like you suggested, in a meeting, particularly to capture ideas. So it's a great tool to capture ideas in a meeting. It's a great tool to use for things like brainstorming, again, in a context of a meeting. But I'll also use, again, Kanbans for, again, simple projects. I'll bring my team together and we'll have a meeting and we'll just kind of build out the project during the meeting right in the Kanban board. I also use Kanban. So now I'm getting into less, let's see it this way, less waterfall projects, less traditional projects. I don't do a lot of full agile projects, but I'm doing more and more the hybrid projects, a combination of both the waterfall and the agile. And typically what I'll do is I'll do the traditional planning up front, and then I'll switch to like a sprint in the execution of the project. So in those projects, again, where I'll do some sort of agile process, whether it's sprint or something else, I use to do anything. If it's a complex project and it's going to be a total waterfall project, I'll probably stick with, again, Microsoft's project. But if it's, again, a fairly simple project and it's a hybrid project, I'm almost always going to use the Kanban boards. Thank you for the question.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much. Thank you so much.
Makoba, tu peux poser ta question. You can.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Mark. So my question is, according to your experience about these tools, what is the best choice for you with a cost and quality comparison? what is the best choice, do you think? My second question is many companies use Microsoft Office. So with Microsoft Office, we have Planner. As me, I use Planner for all my tasks, for operational activities, and for some little project. So it's very, very, very useful. But do you think Monday I very, very, very I don't know how to say, but impressionné. Michael, you can help me. Interesting for Monday.com. Is very, very, very complete. I don't know. What do you think is the best choice for
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
you? Yes.
Yes. Thank you for that question. Yes, it's been a struggle for me to kind of narrow it down because I've been using all three for pretty much the last couple of years. And so now, I've kind of really kind of firmly come down on Monday. Monday.com has come. I'm going to be switching everything to Monday.com, and that's not to say that I don't like the other products. I do. I like them a lot. But as you just indicated, Monday kind of has the complete package. I even use Monday for my contact list. They have a very nice CRM, customer relationship management package inside of that as well. And so I'm directly through in Monday pretty much the whole day. So yeah, I'm favoring Monday more than the others at this point. Thank you for that.
And how much for the version paid for Monday.com?
So it depends on how many people, and it depends on the version that you get. If you have the top version, it's $8. So that's I think it's about, is it 18,000, something like that, CFA. So per license. So if you have multiple people, again, it's that per person per month.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mark. Je rappelle que le webinaire donne droit à des videos. J'ai également mis le lien pour qu'on puisse renseigner les informations vous concernant. Mr. Mark, a question. Priska, vas-y.
Merci, Michael. Thank you, Mark, for your presentation. Very informational and a lot of good information. If we want to learn more about Kanban, are there other books than the one you mentioned that we can go through? Is there somewhere you can point us to for more information, documentation, and so on?
Yeah, I said this good one on Kanban, and it's kind of broader perspective. It's not necessarily Kanban as it relates to project management, but it's this whole perspective of it helps you inside of projects and also outside as well. So and again, it's all the whole idea of workflow as well. So has really opened up a whole new perspective about Kanban for me. So I definitely recommend that book. And there are a couple of other books as well that I don't recall the titles right now. But what I would like to do, Michael, and see if this is something that we can do. I would like to provide the slides for you and then including with that, I'll provide a list of resources as well. Would that be okay, Michael?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark, for the presentation.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you
All right.
for
So I'll do
the
that.
contribution.
Thank you. Yeah. I'll send that probably in the next couple of days, Mike.
Thank you. Alors, nous terminons notre webinaire.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, I would love
It's okay.
to be able to work on a meeting together. So thank you now.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye now.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.